So you have a podcast and you're looking to get an awesome intro made for your show to help you stand out and connect with your listeners. You're in the right place because that's what we're covering today in this video. We're going to walk you through how you can either go about making one for yourself for free or how you can source someone who's a professional to create it for you at a very affordable price point and get it right on brand with your show. And we're also going to talk about what makes a solid podcast intro. So let's get right into it. Let's talk all about it. Let's do it up. What's going on, everyone? My name is Ben. I make weekly videos on this channel to help you amplify your message and business online. And I release a ton of videos specific to podcasting. So if you do have a show and you're looking to level up, be sure to subscribe, join the team, and hit that bell button so you never miss a future video. So I've been running my podcast for over 2 years now. And over that time, so many things have changed with the show. And one of those things has been the intro. I've actually changed it 3 separate times throughout the progression of my podcast. And I did that all 3 times because I felt like it could be improved. And an intro is actually a pretty important part of a podcast because it's your first introduction to any new listener, as well as it creates a sense of continuity and consistency for people when they do come back. So it's that sense of comfort and familiarity, that was tough to get out, that your audience gets used to and looks forward to every single episode. So you want to make sure that your intro is unique, it aligns with your brand, and it delivers the desired message and tone that you want for your show. And to explain the importance of an intro, I like to use the example of TV shows. Whenever you hear the Friends theme song, you instantly get into that Friends viewing mode. Whether you like it or you don't, that intro creates emotion and makes you feel a certain way. You're trying to achieve the same thing, likely not to the level of Friends, but the same sort of message that you want to deliver your desired emotional response when people come across your content, and specifically at the beginning with your intro. So I'm going to cover a few different ways that you can go about achieving this to ensure that regardless of who you are, regardless what your budget is, you can make it happen for yourself. So before getting started, before you create anything, before you hire anybody, you have to do some thinking. Like anything, you want to put some thought into it to ensure that regardless of what the end product is, it was created with some sort of vision and purpose aligned with your show. So think about the style of your show, the tone that you want for the intro, the type of content that you want it to include. You want to think about all these things beforehand because it's going to allow you to actually have some direction and make the creation process so much simpler because you have a plan. So if you have no idea where to start, one thing that I like to think about it as is like an elevator pitch. So if you had one opportunity to capture somebody's attention and entice them to stick around for the whole episode, what would that look like? How would you do it? And how would it play into the theme and content of your show? That's what I want you to think about before you get started in all this. Another great thing to do is to go check out the shows that you listen to. Think about the elements that you liked, what you didn't like. Think about how it made you feel when you heard it. Think about how it aligned with the show. Get as much inspiration as you can and start crafting out some ideas for tone, direction, and content. Then once you have that, I would work on scripting something out to make sure you include all of the pieces that you want included and a general tone and feel for how you want it to play out. And that goes for if you're hiring someone or doing it yourself. Regardless, you want to make sure you've thought about all this stuff beforehand to guide the creativity for whoever's doing it. All right, so I'll start with the DIY route. A very simple way that you can go about creating an awesome and super easy podcast intro with no real expertise or experience is simply to script out what you want to include in the intro. So hitting all of the points that you've outlined earlier when you asked yourself those questions. So after you have that all scripted out, then think about the tone that you wanted, the emotion that you wanted to evoke, and go look for music that aligns with that. But not just any music. Unfortunately, you can't be using Drake's latest banger on your intro because that's obviously copyrighted. So you need to go look for copyright-free music, meaning that you have full creative freedom to use it in any which way or form. And that's important because eventually if you get to the point where you're starting to monetize your podcast, if you use something that's copyrighted by someone else, you can get flagged or have to pay them royalties. Both things that we ideally would like to avoid from the beginning. So look for copyright-free music. So the next question is probably, where do I source copyright-free music? How do I make sure that I'm okay to use it? Well, one great resource that is completely free is actually YouTube. They have a growing library of copyright-free music, and that's exactly where I started with my podcast. I went in there, I typed in the mood that I wanted to create, that I had outlined earlier through asking myself those questions, and then picked a song that aligned with that and used it to create my podcast intro. There are a ton of other great directories that you can source copyright-free music, but YouTube is an awesome place to start. So once I had picked the song that I wanted from YouTube, I downloaded the MP3. I then went into GarageBand and I simply just recorded the script that I had already outlined and then put the music underneath as sort of a background track to create that emotion, exported that whole project, which was like 20, 30 seconds, as an MP3. So then from that point forward, it's just simply plug and play with every single episode because you have it right there in the proper file format, ready to go. So that's one way to do it. You can go completely DIY, completely for free, and bang that out in a few hours regardless of your previous experience. Another route you can go that would still be very inexpensive or potentially free is getting a different person to actually read the intro for you and then just put that copyright free music underneath that instead. A lot of people like having someone else, a different voice, intro the show for them just to try to create that professional element as if there's not just a one-man team. So that's another option you can do. If you know someone who you really like their voice, you think it aligns well with the show, you could get them to read your script and then just put the music underneath, and that could be your intro, again, completely for free as long as your friend is willing to do that. So those are my two kind of recommendations for the DIY route, and that's assuming that you don't have previous music experience. Obviously, if you do, go crazy with it, put different sound effects, all this different things, but that's a very easy way to get a professional sounding intro aligned with your show created very quickly, allowing you to move forward in your podcast process. So I started with the free option. That's exactly what I did. I did it all myself because I was a broke student with less than no budget, so I did it all by myself. But as my show grew and as my monetization grew and grew from YouTube and podcasting, I decided to create a more professional intro or actually have someone else create it for me. I'm a huge believer in outsourcing the work that you're not good at or you're not professional or skilled with so that you can focus on the things that you are really good at. For myself, and likely for you too, you're a podcaster. You're great at connecting with people. You're great at conversations. You're great at delivering information. You may not be an audio engineer. So that's why instead of forcing yourself, putting in tons of time and effort, you're likely better off hiring someone who this is what they do for a living. They're gonna be able to give you a way better product than you could do on your own, and you'd be surprised at the price tag. It's not that expensive. So where I recommend you go to find a professional to put your podcast intro together is go on to fiverr.com. So this is a freelance website where it connects freelancers with people looking for that service. So if you just simply type in podcast intro, there's gonna be a bunch of listings. The person I just popped up right now, their listing is exactly who I used, and he was awesome to work with. The gig was quite affordable for the product that you get, and the turnaround time was extremely fast. So anybody who hasn't used a freelance website before, you're probably a little apprehensive thinking like this is kind of sketchy or like what are their credentials and credibility. For context, this specific guy I know personally is very, very good at what he does, but if you still need convincing, one of his clients is Virgin Radio. I was listening to the radio, just listening to Top 40 radio, and then I heard something that sounded all too familiar. I heard his voice and I looked into it and they are one of his clients. So it's a very reputable place. He's awesome. I would recommend him specifically, but use whoever you want. There are definitely cheaper options, but I know his product is awesome. So if you've never used Fiverr before, there'll be a link in the description box where you can go and check that out. Go sign up for an account and then order a gig that you want that fits your needs and budget. So I have no affiliation with the guy who put my intro together. I just think his work is awesome. So that's why I'm telling you that it's a safe bet. But obviously do your own research, make your own decisions. So after hearing everything that I just laid out for you, I wanna know, are you more likely to go the DIY route or are you gonna hire someone to put this together for you? Let me know in the comment section down below. So you can really get as creative with this as you want. The reason why we did the steps before earlier in this video is to provide that creative direction for the audio engineer or whatever label you want to give them, because they're going to be able to turn that vision into life. So here's a quick example of what's possible. This is a short bit from my intro for my show, Project Passion.
You are now entering Project Passion. Be warned, those who stay are likely to experience increased motivation, ambition, and desire to do dope shit. This experiment may also result in a lack of excuses and finger pointing. To those still willing to proceed, we welcome you to Project Passion. Let's do this.
So as you can hear, there's a lot of professional elements going on there, a lot more beyond the realms of my capability from an audio perspective, and they captured all of the things that I was trying to get accomplished with that intro. And we were only able to get to that result because I had done all the work previous to have a creative vision in mind that then the professional could bring to life. So definitely put in the work, put in the thought, it'll all pay dividends when you hear the final result and it sounds exactly like you wanted it to. So go ahead and like this video if you're fired up to get your podcast intro made, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you never miss a future video that could help you level up your podcast. So if you need help editing your podcast, check out the video that's popped up on your screen. It's a super easy tutorial for GarageBand. And if you're looking for new and creative ways to monetize your podcast, check out the other video. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Go crush your podcast goals, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.